It's the future of estate agency with self-employment. Today I'm with the wonderful Ian Preston, who actually converted his estate agency to self-employed a number of years ago. Is it the future? Talk to me.
So I think there's two kind of separate parts to this. One is with the advent of AI systems, which can do loads of the job of a negotiator, so viewing feedback, hot listing, prospecting. So with AI systems which can do that, that sits beautifully with a self-employed agent supported by those systems. So I think your big self-employed networks, whether that's EXP, the Agency UK, IAD, all of those networks, I think they've got a huge opportunity to make the individual self-employed agent's job really easy and expand a lot. So I think that AI and self-employment are going to go together absolutely beautifully. So that's one side of it. The second side of it is if I am an independent agent and I'm thinking about growing my business, then adding self-employment to it, not necessarily converting my business to it, but adding self-employment to it can add, I don't know, 30 to 50,000 pounds of additional profit per self-employed agent which you've got. And critically, it gives your staff an opportunity of somewhere to go.
Because that's the big issue, is that there's plenty of bosses out there watching this that, if their star valuer leaves, it's like a double whammy hit. You're losing your star player and now they're in competition with you.
100%.
I know you've helped a number of estate agents offer that package.
Sure.
I don't want to turn this into a sales ploy, but what are the top tips and top mistakes people make when transitioning into adding self-employment to their employed model? Because that's what you did with your agency.
Sure, yeah.
You were employed, you gave them the option, and eventually did all of them go across?
Yeah, all of them went across, yeah.
Okay, so let's go through the top tips and top mistakes that people make.
Okay, so the number one thing which I would do first is I would look at adopting a flexible fee or blended fee charging model. Yeah, that's number one. So what that does is that gives you 20% extra revenue for your core business. Okay, but critically, it paves the way for your new self-employed agents to start earning from day one.
Yes, which is their biggest fear.
Absolutely. So in other words, you can make a whole load of money and you can prepare yourself for self-employment by adopting flexible fees. Step one. Step two, hire one agent only, probably from your existing team, and put them into a location which is what I would call like a secondary location. So a village or a small town where you have data. So you mentioned the work which I do with other agents. I think probably the reason that it's been relatively popular has been because what I do is I get an export of their database, all of the valuations they've done in the last 3 years, all of the local house to sell data from the last 3 years, and I do a map of what are those secondary towns where they actually know a good number of people in. So rather than being an opinion-based strategy, it's a data-led strategy. So step two is to be data-led and work out geographically where are the areas which are going to be best first. So that's the next step which I would undertake. And then make sure that you get it right with 1, 2, 3 first, and only then would I consider moving everyone across to self-employment. You want to work out the kinks with trusted people in strong locations, and then you can do the rest from there.
What are the mistakes that most people do make, though?
Going too quickly. So, there is a huge cultural shift of running an employed team to running a self-employed team. So,
Because you're not the boss anymore, are you?
no, you're not. You're there as a guide. You can't control the behaviours maybe in the way that you'd be traditionally used to.
I mean, I've spoken to a number of people where they've had colleagues become self-employed agents, and they're pulling their hair out saying they're lazy. I can't get them off their backsides.
Yeah.
But I can't give them a bollocking, technical term.
Okay, so one other point which I guess might be relevant here is have a really robust SLA. So the other part of the work which I do with agents,
Some people might not know what an SLA is.
great shout. So service level agreement. And so part of the work which I do with other agents is I give them a whole contract pack, including a service level agreement, which we work on together to make it appropriate for their business. In other words, you can't tell people what to do, but you can incentivize them. So let me give you an example. One of the things which is in my SLA is that if you discount the fee, your percentage goes down. So we have an agreed fee scale with them, and they have the flexibility to discount. But if they discount, it comes off their cut. That's part of the SLA.
So if they drop 500 quid off, they're going to lose 300 or something.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. And you work out what those percentages would be. But then also think about things like weekly marketing updates, which are going to damage your brand, which they're now trading under. If they're not keeping sellers really well updated, we turn them off if they fail to keep in touch with their existing sellers weekly. And the idea is that protects us from them becoming too busy, too greedy, without being able to deliver that service.
Any other top tips? The mindset of the boss, particularly.
Yeah, so the mindset of the boss is that, well, there's two things. So one is, if you're running on a roughly 50-50 split, which is what I'd encourage a sort of traditional agency moving across this to work on, every pound that you spend, you now have to generate £2 in revenue to break even. So your whole cost model actually has to change quite substantially. And that's one of the reasons why I say, do this gradually. So £1 spent, you have to now make £2. So you've got to be really tight on your costs. Second piece is about making sure that you create a winning culture which people want to be a part of. So invest in culture.
That's the big one, though.
That's huge. Yeah.
Because most firms, their culture is, not particularly very good.
And investing in culture, so making sure that people feel part of the team. Why would someone want to be part of the Preston Baker brand when they could be part of EXP? I think is one of the big questions. When we're going to offer a lower cut at Preston Baker, you get with EXP. Why would you do that? Well, first of all, you get the data, you get the brand, you get the Greenhouse OS, you get all of the systems and product. But critically, we want to provide a team. I think that where most self-employed agents, talked about becoming lazy, the reason that they become lazy is because they're on their own. There's no group accountability.
I think the biggest issue in self-employed estate agency, the model is loneliness, which is absolutely what you're saying, that there is no, don't get me wrong, I'm a massive fan of EXP, for example. Yet, and I know they've got small teams, and I know they've got this virtual world, which is great, but there's nothing like personal interaction. Which is interesting that a lot of EXP agents are coming together in regions to create a tribe-like mentality. That's what I particularly like about Steph Walker and TA UK is that they're
Absolutely.
And when it actually comes to the choice of which agent you go with as a self-employed agent, I think a lot of it is down to the one-to-one relationship you have with your broker, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think creating that culture, creating that team environment where they can still earn 80, 100, 150 grand, but at the same time as that, they can also be part of a team. And I think that's the middle ground that you're looking to try and get to.
Interesting times ahead. Thank you for your time today.
Cheers, Chris.